West Cork Beard Company make beard oil and beard balm for a strong, healthy, great-looking beard. Handmade from all natural ingredients in Clonakilty, West Cork. Check out their YouTube channel for beard care tips and advice, or catch them online at westcorkbeardcompany.ie.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Same Old Arsenal Team Talk. I am your host tonight, Dan Potts, and I have a fantastic lineup tonight. I have my boy Lee Judges in the house. Judges, how you doing?
I'm all good. Thank you very much. All good. I'll tell you what, I've got to say this, Dan, just before we start. On Facebook today, you know, well, I was in unbelievable company. Unbelievable company. Pristine company I was like, you know what I mean? If you've seen the post.
No, go on. You got to explain this. Go on.
Well, I will explain it. Like on this post, it's just doing this little shout out for a birthday, like, yeah. And there's Paul Merson on it. Like, not a bad player in his day, like, you know what I mean. Kevin Campbell, not a bad player in his day. Mickey Thomas, Perry Groves, and then myself, you know what I mean? You can't get better than that. I put myself in about fourth, I tell you. Like.
Oh, I tell you what.
You're proud of that, Judge, isn't you?
I am proud of that, and I am saying I'm the fourth. I ain't saying I'm the fifth, you know what I mean? Like, that's all I'm saying.
We will have to get on and watch that one. Judge, it's always a pleasure to have you on, my friend. Also joining us is Super Kevin Campbell.
Yo, Dan, Lee, Warren, how you doing, guys?
All good, man.
Especially after last night. I know this is going to start getting a bit hot. Trust me. So I've got my water. Yeah.
It's got to be done, man. Thanks for coming on, Casey, as always. Somebody else who's looking and feeling a little bit hot and has got even better suntan than Mr. Lee Judges is Mr. Warren Barton. Warren, how you doing, mate?
And just to upset you boys, it's an all-over tan as well, just to make sure. It's not just head and shoulders; it's all over. Yeah.
We don't want to see that, mate. We don't
want
to
see those pins.
I might put that on Facebook.
Will you be first or fourth, though, mate? That's the question.
It might be 4 or 5 pages. You never know. 4 or 5. Anyway, let's move on.
Move on swiftly.
Moving swiftly on. Warren, always a pleasure to have you on, mate. Boy, well, listen, we can't talk about anything else, can we, apart from last night? Lee Judges, I'm coming to you first on this one. I'm not even going to give you an intro. I'm just going to let you have the floor. What on earth did we watch last night, my man?
I'll tell you what we watched. We watched an absolute calamity. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I said it earlier. I won't say what I said. He is the luckiest manager alive. I don't know how we got away with that last night. I really don't. The team selection, honestly, he's gone to Valencia. He's sitting here in Spain, and him and his cronies, and they've watched Man City, PSG, and they said, "I'll tell you what, we'll do that tomorrow." That's what he's done. I said that is what he's done because it was an absolute shocker. And then after about 20 minutes, honestly, I think after 20 minutes, I'm thinking this is going to be 4 or 5, and there was no way they was changing it. Then in the second, like half time, you're thinking 2-0. They were all over us. Cruyff, he was just running a riot down the right-hand side. I thought it was Warren Barton's Newcastle days bombing down there. Unreal. It was unreal. And you think to yourself, what's going on? And he was causing us all. And I'm looking at it thinking, you've got to change it at half time. Doesn't change it. Danny Ceballos then gets a foul, another foul, which could have been a sending off. That is anybody in any shape or form goes, do you know what? That's a little warning. Let's get him off. He doesn't do that. We are now up against it, going out of the cup big time. And then Lady Luck puts a little sprinkle on Mikel again, like over it comes, like Foyth goes down injured, game changer from that moment on, And I'll tell you what, even with 10 men, I thought we played really well after that. As soon as he put Martinelli on, as soon as he changed things, we looked like we might not win the game, but get back in the game. Never a penalty, by the way, never a penalty. But I'm going to say I'll take it all day long. And I think at the end of it, Pepe, a lot of pressure on him, got the goal. And whether we win it in the next leg or not, you never know with our form at the moment. But to come out of there with a 2-1, I'll tell you that, it is incredible. I don't know how we done it, but listen, we still lost. But we're as you guys know, on a away goal can be vital to us. So I don't think it's all as bad. I don't know how we got away with it, but we did.
We did just about, but it still could come to bite us. Warren, I'm going to come to you next. What did you make of that team lineup, and what the hell were those players asked to do on that pitch last night?
Well, I think if you remember, gentlemen, when we had this conversation about 4 or 5 months ago, it's about Arteta. He's got to be his own man. He's got to have his own identity. He's falling back into being this Pep number 2, which he isn't, and he hasn't got the players to play that way. Kev will tell you, when you've had top class players that play a certain way, or you've had certain managers that play a certain way, you can't try and change it overnight. And these young players, and we spoke about this, are getting them out of jail at the moment. The younger ones, not the senior ones, the younger ones are getting them out of jail. And he keeps on persevering, thinking that it's going to work. And like you said, in the end of the day, he got that away goal. But I've not seen the involvement of what we're expecting with him. When he come in, we're going to play a certain way. I think at the moment he's just hanging on to see if he can get into a final and win a final, because then anything can happen. Because there's a good group of players. There's some good players there, but players after a while, Kev, start switching off if it's too complicated and too many words and too intricate, because they know the game is not like that, And I think he's fallen into it because of the Pep situation, that he feels like he's got to talk like that to these players, and they can't do it. And again, they probably switch off after about 5 or 6 minutes, because it's just monotonous, and it's sort of, well, we can't do that. So why are you asking us to do it? We're not Man City. We're not going to go over there and change it. And if you look at Man City's game against PSG, they could have been knocked out. They could have been 4 or 5-0 down. So it happens to the best of them. But he's definitely got to make a stand to say, this is how we're going to play, because he changes it. Then he changes the personnel, and then there's this old saying, I think he overthinks it. And, rather than concentrating on his own team of how we're going to do it, there's no doubt he knows the game and he's played the game and all the other stuff that goes with it, but he's trying to emulate something that he's not and Arsenal's not. And that's where he's got to get out of that sooner rather than later. I don't think the assistants, his backup staff will tell him. I think they're all quite, yes, coach, no, coach, whatever you like, coach. So he hasn't got someone that might say, do you think we should do this? Do you think we've got an idea that we may want to do this? Because I'm looking at players and they're switching off halfway through a game. They're starting to do their own thing.
I must admit, Warren, I was surprised. I saw the team lineup. I thought, no fullbacks, but 2 on the bench. No striker on the pitch, 3 on the bench. A false 9.
I mean, what? I mean, it's crazy that you go into that. Like I said, if you're dealing with the top end players, they get it done how? Not necessarily his system or whatever. De Bruyne will do something. He won't necessarily be Pep's tinkering, and De Bruyne will get on the ball and do something. He's a top class. So these players will do something. Patrick would have done something. Thierry Henry would have done something. It's not always Arsene Wenger was the magician. It was like they would go out and do something. They ain't got them type of players to do it. I mean, am I wrong, Kev? I don't know.
No, you're not wrong. Listen, I unfortunately, I was working for the first half, and I joined the game for the second half, and obviously with the Ceballos incident, with the first foul he done after half time, I knew straight away he's been booked already. He could have gone, but apparently Martinelli was warming up to come on because he was going to change him, and then he done that. Then he made that challenge. No excuses. Ceballos is a bomb. He's a time bomb, and he's not really cut it at the football club. Let's have it right. He hasn't really cut it. You saw Foyth, who was from Spurs, running by him constantly, because Foyth weren't exactly doing it down the line. He was running inside, because they were targeting Ceballos most of the time. Look, I just think over all this time, Mikel Arteta he doesn't trust. He doesn't know what to do sometimes, because we talk about these ones are on the bench. We talk about these ones. They've all played and been rubbish. Let's be honest here. They've all played and been crap. So,
but Kev, why has he done that? Why has he experimented last night? That's a massive game to start experimenting.
Yeah, I just think he played Smith Rowe as centre forward because Smith Rowe is a link player, and that's what Lacazette does for the team. It didn't work out, Dan. I agree, it didn't work out. But that's the only thinking I've got in my head, is that Martinelli's a runner. He's not a link player. He's not somebody who could do the job what Lacazette does. That's why he didn't play. Eddie Nketiah, I think the Everton game ruled him out.
Killed him. Yeah.
Ruled him out. And obviously, Aubameyang is nowhere near fit. So he had to go with what he had to.
Maybe play Martinelli from the start. If you're going to play a forward, you can't ask Smith Rowe to play that, again, false nine. It's like
Warren,
saying to you, Kev,
Warren, the problem is this. They've got to try and keep control of the game. If Martinelli's not good at holding the ball up and the ball keeps coming back, you're going to be in the same problem. Maybe that's the only thing I could see why he done that. And yes, it failed miserably, guys. It did. 2-0 down, could have been 4. And let's be honest, after what Leno's done in the last few games, that save in the second half kept us in it. Let's be honest, it kept us in it. But again, the manager got it wrong. I admit he got it wrong. The players responded when they went down to 10 men. Where was that in the first half? Because we can't have it both ways. It is a semi-final of a Europa League, and the players all of a sudden go down to 10 men and they step up. That's wrong. That should be from the start.
Yeah, again, that comes down to the coach. It's like his job is to put the system out, put the idea out, the identity, and obviously remind them that this is a semi-final. Make sure we don't concede early. Make sure we get into the game.
Warren, come on, mate. Come on.
You don't think it's his job?
No, hold on. So are you telling me once the players cross the white line, who has to perform?
Yeah, no,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which group. If you're representing Arsenal Football Club, or you're representing Newcastle, or you're representing Man City, or you're representing Liverpool, you cross that white line, all the work's been done on the training ground. You've talked about all your jobs. You've talked about everything's planned. You still have to go out there and perform. That's been our problem.
Can I ask a question? Serious question here, right? You two have played the game professionally, right? You're playing a system that you've played all season, and the manager comes in and says, right, I'm changing it for the semi-final, right? Obviously, you're going to go with it if you're in it, but it's surely got to be some sort of doubt in your mind. What's going on here? What's he doing that for? Would you not think that, or
no? He will explain it, Lee,
afterwards. Or
Lee, one thing is for sure: the manager just isn't going to change it, and you don't work on the training ground at it. You've watched video. You go on the training pitch and you work at it. But always remember, you could do as much video, you could do as much talking, you could do as much on the training pitch as you want. The moment you get on that pitch, this is the test.
To me, the players didn't know what they was actually doing.
Same here.
What their
Confused.
roles were in that game. Like that's what I mean. Like, for instance,
like who, Lee? Like who?
Well, I look at it in the midfield. I look at the midfield, right? Because there's too many in there. No one was really knowing what their job was. You know, like, for instance, oh, is that my man? Oh, no, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be there. And they had so much space in the midfield and in between the lines, because I feel that there was too many cooks, if you know what I mean. I'm looking at it. You're playing a different position. Like, say if it was just you and your teammate there next to you, you know that he's going to be there. You know, all of a sudden, am I supposed to be going? Party was all over the place. All over the place, never getting close to no one, never getting always off of it, and I just feel that was it. Listen, this false 9, there's only one false I like, and it ain't a false number 9. I can tell you that now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's the only, like, you know, it's an absolute joke.
So
You
you,
know
so
what I mean?
you like
Like,
two up top then? You like two up top?
You're two up top.
I
Yeah.
like two up top. Exactly. He knows where I'm coming from. Like,
Real or false, it don't matter.
Two centre forwards.
it just seemed to me that he didn't know what to like. You're asking me, like, Kevin, you've played up front. You know what I mean? It's like asking Warren, like, to play up front. Now, you might know what you're doing and everything like that. But I look at Smith Rowe, he's probably not played up front since he was an under-8. You know, all of a sudden, 3 days of training, all of a sudden you think that's going to... I just felt it was...
It was a gamble.
Yeah,
it was a gamble, Lee. It was a gamble. But I think I can only look at it for me, why he would do that. That's all. Why would he do that? We all know, yeah, you could start Martinelli. Of course you can. But Martinelli isn't great with his back to goal. He's not a link player. He's not a Lacazette.
you got Balogun then.
Yeah, but Balogun weren't even in the squad. Why? I don't know. I don't know.
See, I look at it with like someone like Balogun, right? And we were talking about this earlier. Harry Kane, right, is the player he is now, right, because of the Europa League. Right, he used to get his chances in the Europa League, right? Rashford got his chances in the Europa League. You know, why not? You know, why not play?
Lee, we can cut this any way you want, and we could say Balogun has got his chances in the Europa League earlier on in the league stage, group stage, didn't he?
Well, he's done better than Smith Rowe in that position.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is he wasn't even in the squad, so we can't talk about someone who's not even in the squad.
So whose fault's that then?
Well, he's not picked. So what can we do? We can't bring him on or change it if he's not even in the squad.
Kev, one thing I've got to ask you, man. I spoke to you on Harbury squad a few nights ago, and we both sat there and we said, Granit Xhaka can't play at left back. He can't play at left back. He'll get absolutely roasted if he plays at left back. And what happened in 4 minutes? Surely Arteta must see that.
Can I just say, John, can I just jump in? Sorry.
Go on.
Going back, do you remember with Fabian Delph at Man City when he played him at left back? Mm-hmm. Does it not look like familiar that, you know, he's
Great point.
Trying to go from what Pep did with Fabian Delph because they had a lot of possession, play him at the back. You know, and in his back mind, he comes subconsciously say, I think I might play Xhaka there because Pep did it with Fabian Delph. That will be a smart move to make. But Fabian Delph could run and tackle where Xhaka is not mobile enough. He's not that player. So I didn't want to interrupt. But
but it's a good point. It's a great point. It's a great point.
Absolute fantastic point.
He's saying is that he's got to get away from what Pep does. He's got to get away and do what's best for Arsenal. And this group of players that are very much a quiet group, that are internal, don't really, you know, look very aggressive on the field. So he's trying to coach them that way, be the leader. Where I think they look at this and think, well, he's obviously copying what Pep did, but I can't do it. That's how it looks for me from outside. If I was in that change room, one thing, we're older school, and we would have sorted it out between us. This group of players can't. There's not one of them that you would really take serious. He's telling them to shut up and sit down, and they wouldn't. You know, and so it has changed. The game has changed. You do need someone to lead this group of players because there are some good players, but they're just being put in situations to look like they're going to foul. You know, you're putting someone in a position to check that looks like he's going to foul.
Warren, I said before, I don't want Xhaka anywhere near that left back spot. I don't want him anywhere near it, especially in this game, because you know what? Our best two central midfielders are Partey with Xhaka. That's the best midfield we got. You got Cedric, who can play right back or left back. Play him. He's a fullback. But I don't think Gabriel as a fullback. I think we could have done with Gabriel at centre half yesterday, to be honest with you. But hey, listen, he didn't pick that. Holding and Mari have played together and done pretty well together before, so I got no problem with that. It's just that left back. For me, Xhaka is wasted as a left back because he bloody is the left back.
I totally agree. And do you know what? I love Warren's point. The reason I love Warren's point is because it does look as if Mikel Arteta has rung up Uncle Pep and has said, I'm struggling the last few games. Is there something I can do that you can help me with? Play a false nine. Bring one of your centre midfielders in at left back, whoever the left-footed one is. Keep two centre-halves together, because I've found it with Laporte and whoever it be, or Ruben Diaz and Stones of late. I don't understand what I was seeing last night. And one thing I need to get, and nobody can answer me this, Dani Ceballos needed to be taken off. Kev, you touched on it, right? He didn't take him off. He got sent off and he looked shocked. Oh my God, he was going. Everyone could see it happening, right? And then it takes him 10 minutes to actually bring a substitution on. Now, I don't know any manager in their right mind goes down to 10 men and then sits there and says, just keep things as they are for 10 minutes.
But Dan,
what is going on there, Kev?
As soon as we went down to 10 men, we improved. We improved.
Going back to what we said, Kev. Going back to what we said, people knew their job.
That's probably why he kept it for 10 minutes and thought, hold on a minute. You know what? Right. All right. Maybe we can go for it a bit more. And he made the change.
Well, Emery made two subs, didn't he? As soon as he got sent off, he was like, boom, get two people on. Now, actually, what Unai Emery did in the end was do an Unai Emery and think we've won this 2-0, get Francis Coquelin on and get Alcacer off, whatever his name was up front, right? Now, that helped us in the end, because actually what that did was give us a chance in, right? Now, I don't understand what I saw with some of these individuals last night. They looked really confused. I had Ødegaard, who looked about 10% fit, that he'd rather play than Martinelli. I just can't understand this team's selection, Casey. I don't get it. I didn't understand any of it.
Yeah, but you know what, Dan? But this is football. When things go wrong, you look at the team, look at the squad. What is he doing in? What is he not doing in? It's natural. It's normal to say that. We can't say that Ødegaard hasn't got the quality, because he has. But the problem is he needs the midfield to be right for him to shine. And the midfield wasn't right. That's the problem. Yeah. He wasn't fit. Fair enough, because he's not played, but we needed him in there or whatever, because that was the experiment of Smith Rowe being the link man up top. But it never worked out.
When you're sitting here as players, professional players, I've got, you're away on a European game like that last night, right? Whether you're young or whether you're old, are you talking like we're talking now? Like, you know what I mean? Like, would say Granit Xhaka be sitting there with David Luiz, and because they're a more experienced player, go, he thinks he's Pep. He thinks he's Pep. What he's doing here, like, you know what I mean? What's going on? Like, there must be some questions from players at what's going on with this, with the way he's managing it. Surely,
well, the coaching staff, why none of them are saying it?
We're having a debate, like we said. We think, obviously, two of us have played the game, and you've seen millions and millions of games at Arsenal, and we can't really work it out of what it would be. Why did he do this? So the natural reaction, and I kind of go, when we had Ruud Gullit and he tried to change it, do certain things. We did what he asked to do, but in the end of it, we had to sort it out and said, Ruud, this ain't working. You're trying to get Alan to be a number 10. And then ask him to go and help, whether it's Duncan Ferguson or whatever. But Alan's not a number 10. So we said, play him as a number 9 and play both of them up. And he was like, no, I want him to drop. But you're right. I think they would sit down in their car, or when they're going home, or having a cup of tea, saying, okay, that was chaos. Do you know what I mean? What was we doing? They would have that conversation. I'm sure players, even whether it's 20 years ago today, would think, for about 40 minutes, we didn't know what we was doing. We was out of position. Now, whether they got confidence to go to the number 2 and say to him, you have a word with the gaffer at the moment, because we did it with Steve Clarke. We said to Clarkey, look, you can't have Alan playing as a number 10, and that was me, Cedo, or Rob Lee. We would say that. But you go and speak to the number 2, Kev, wouldn't you? You go and say to the number 2, look, this is fucking complicated. You don't need to play like that, because if we do this, and this, we feel like we've got some good players. And I'm going to your question. The players, I'm sure, would talk and say, listen, we need to adjust this, because if we play like that again, we're going to get murdered and we're going to get knocked out. So I'm sure that would be a conversation. Like I said, whether it's 30 years ago or 30 minutes ago, I'm sure certain players would sit down and say, we've got to outplay them. How many
and
times?
the coaching staff, Warren, as well.
Yeah,
how many of those coaching staff are sitting there going, what's he doing here? Not one of them is going up to him, or are they? Are they going up to him?
No, but you don't know, Dan.
We don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
What I would tell you is coaching staff would have deliberations and debates. But the buck stops with the manager. The manager's the one who sets the precedent. So whether they've had it, we won't know whether they've had that conversation. Granit Xhaka's played left back for the last, 4 or 5 games?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the fact he has, but hold on, sorry, Lee, the fact he has played there for the last 4 or 5 games is Mikel Arteta feels justified to play him there. Do you understand what I mean?
Let me
I disagree with that. 100% I disagree because I want him nowhere near fullback.
Let me open a can of worms. Surely Arsenal Football Club should have another recognised left back.
100%.
Through the academy, through the reserves.
100%.
He sold them both. He sold them both.
Exactly.
Yeah, but not the youth team. What is the youth team? The youth team.
Lee, he's got a Portuguese international on the bench. Cedric, let's not even look at youth team.
You're not helping his case, you know that.
No, hold on a minute. No, but listen, I don't want Granit Xhaka anywhere that defense, especially left back.
But I don't think he was that bad.
No, Lee. I'm not saying whether he's bad or good. His best position, and I don't even think I agree. Him and Partey together gives us a better balance in midfield than Partey, Ceballos, Partey, Elneny, Ceballos, Elneny, Xhaka, No. Partey and Xhaka in midfield gives us a much better balance. That's my point. So play who you have to play at fullback. And get Xhaka in midfield.
Play a fullback at fullback. That'd be a good idea.
Yeah. Or and I might get pillaged for this. I mean, we're overloaded with at this moment in time midfielders, wide midfielders, whatever. Play Saka there for a couple of games.
No, you could have done that. Of course you could. Of course you could.
Then you could get Martinelli into the wide area. Why does he not play Martinelli?
Doesn't rate him, Lee. Doesn't rate him. Martin Keown even said it last night, and I thought finally a pundit has said it. He does not rate Martinelli. I'm sorry, he doesn't. He can't play a false nine.
If he can't get a game yesterday, he's never going to get a game. And I've got to ask this question.
By the way, Dan, you and Martin are wrong. He does rate him. He does.
Why don't you play him then, Kev?
Newcastle. I'll take him at Newcastle.
Sorry, mate.
Why don't you play him then?
Because he doesn't trust him enough yet. Bottom line.
But he does rate him.
Yeah, he does.
He rates him, but he don't trust him yet.
No, he doesn't trust him enough, I said. He doesn't trust him enough.
If you, Kevin, when you was a young player and all that, would you tolerate that?
Yeah, well, it happened to me. It happened to me many times, Lee. So I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, not when you was top of the league or something like. It's a little bit different, Kev. When you come into the Arsenal team,
Lee. It's not when they're top of the league. It wasn't. There were many times where I was supposed to come in and I didn't get I was in the squad. I didn't even get on the bench. You were there every week. Hat trick, 2 goals. I didn't get a look in. Why? Because the manager didn't trust me.
Right, all right, okay, right. I'll ask you the question then. Who was in front of you at that time?
At the time was Alan Smith, Paul Merson.
Right, okay. Not bad players, right? Not bad, right? So you're not getting in, right? And he's put David Illia in as a forward in there. Are you not going to go, what's going on here?
Good point.
But you can't because he's the manager. What's going on? You might think that I should be playing. Of course you think he should be playing. But what you've got to do, you've got to keep that shut and get on with it.
Yeah, but he's doing that, Kevin. He's been
I keep hearing he doesn't rate him. I think the manager does rate him. And don't forget, Martinelli isn't a number 9. He's a winger. Let's have it right. He's a winger.
Well, we don't know what he is because he don't get on the bloody pitch at the moment. So I can't tell what the hell he is.
Well, he got on the pitch yesterday and he done all right yesterday. He done all right.
Where did he play?
Where did he play?
He played. He was wide, wasn't he?
You're a,
In a 10. Remember, there was only 10 players. There was only 10 players.
number 8. That's what he was.
There was 10 players there yesterday. Jesus, please.
He's the false left back.
When it's 11, he can't get on the pitch. When it's 10, he gets on.
Does that
Work that one out.
A false coach? Is he a false coach?
Work that one out. Oh my God.
Kev, I got to bring this comment in. It's our good friend Kenny Ken. And he says, "Hi Dan, can you ask Kevin what the process is? You can't sincerely sell Arteta's credentials after yesterday." And to be fair, Kev, I know that you have backed him in the past.
And
but
I'm not
last night was
arguing with
confusing. What would you honestly answer with that, Kev? Because I know you back up your opinions well, and Kenny, he likes to wind you up. But how would you answer that?
Listen, the process is the transition of Arsenal. That's what it is. The process isn't Arteta's process. The process is Arsenal's process. So whether people like it or not, we are not the club we were, but we have to change the culture of the football club in order to get back to where we believe we belong. That's it. The dressing room was cancerous before. We had to get players out. We had to pay players to leave. That is part of the process. Part of the process is going through a bit of pain that we're feeling now. Yeah, there's a bit of experiment going on and all that. It doesn't work. It's painful, of course it is. But that is all part of the process. We're still in this tie, by the way, and I truly believe we could do them at the Emirates. Again, if we turn up. But I think he's going to have more weapons available to him next week. So all of that is part of the process, Dan. The recruitment, what happens in the summer, is part of the process. Because whether Arteta is manager or not, it is still going to be the process. And the process only gets finished when we're up there challenging. That's it.
And what do you make, Warren? I'll bring you in on this one. What do you make of this? Because I think this is a great comment and one that I have been looking at. And it's Daniel Smith. Thank you for your comment. People want the owner out, but say trust the process. I think that to me is fantastic because I'm looking at this process thinking I've been trusting this for 15 years. False process. Warren, what do you make of Arteta's process and the Arsenal processes and the owners?
Well, I can speak by advice here. You could end up like Newcastle. We've been on that process of an owner that's treating it like a business. You've had coaches come in that try to survive. I know Kev's absolutely right, this process, but as a coach, sooner rather than later, you have to make the moves. You can't just say, I'm happy with this process. It's a 3-year plan. I think there's enough quality in that team to do a lot better than they are. Like you said, with the system, with the style of play, whatever he's trying to do is not working at the moment, with all due respect, because if he's not sure, he doesn't trust the players. And I totally understand both sides of it, but if you're not careful, you're going to end up like a Newcastle. Another coach goes, someone else comes in, and the owner, you end up being a business where you're just happy ticking along, and you don't want to be where we are because it is right down. It's horrible down there. It's just existing and just plodding along. You know, I see Arsenal as a great club that always challenge, always had good players coming through, played a certain way. They're a million miles. Newcastle, the same, Kev. They've gone way out the distance of where they used to be. It's 25 years from that famous rant with Kevin Keegan about we'd love it if we beat them. I mean, it's a million miles away when you've got what's happened with owners that are running it like a business. And it is. Arsenal now is just a business to make money. But I still believe as a coach, you should try and have the idea and the fundamentals that you're trying to make this team the best. You can't keep experimenting with Arsenal Football Club. I don't think you can keep.
Great point.
You know, there's a certain standard at Arsenal. There's a certain standard of being an Arsenal player, and now whether that's 20 years ago or 10 years ago or 10 minutes ago, there's a certain standard when you play for Arsenal, and there's a certain standard as a coach that it's not acceptable to keep getting beat, to keep saying, "Well, I'm trying to find it's a process. I'm trying to find my identity." You can't do that. You can't do that with a football club like Arsenal. You know, if it's a low and you're trying to build it up and get an identity, and you're right, Kev, if there's cancer in the change room and you've got to pay players, that's the modern game. That's where we are. But there's still a fundamental of what Arsenal has its own identity. We have our own identity. Newcastle, Man United have their own identity. Leeds have their own identity. I mean, look at them. They've been missing for 13 years and come back. So, yeah, we can hide behind process and we're trying to get players. But at the end of the day, he's been there long enough to have an idea of how they're going to play. And we're still, 13 months down the line.
Do you think
does anyone know what his best lineup is?
Do you think he'll last, Warren?
While the new owner's there, yeah. But I think because he's taken all the and you tell what, they're lucky there's no one in the stadium. That's what a lot of these coaches and players, Kev, because if there's 60,000 Gooners in that stadium, there'd be uproar. If there's 52,000 Geordies at St James's and Steve Bruce is playing 11 behind the ball against Sheffield United, they'd be ripping the place up. And the same at Arsenal. Arsenal's sitting back getting outplayed by Villarreal.
I agree.
That way.
I 100% agree.
You won't,
Judges,
they won't accept, and you wouldn't, Kev. You know what I mean? You'd be sitting there getting angry, frustrated because you feel for the club. You spent, it's part of your life there and a great part of your life there. So you get annoyed by it all and you want to see a change. It's, like I said, we sit here as pundits or fans or whatever you want to call it, but the bottom line is you've got to go out there and perform. Kev's right. As soon as they cross over that white line, you have to perform. But it also comes from the coach and the ownership. And that's where it all needs to be sorted out. And what happened the other week with this?
Everyone's got to come together, Warren.
Exactly.
Everyone's got to come. Everyone, I think what you're trying to say, everyone's got to come together. The problem is when these players cross the white line, we don't know what we're going to get.
Kevin, he said the thing. He said his players need to grow some balls. Sorry to be so crude, but he said it. Arteta, he needs to grow a pair of balls as well. He needs to stand up and take responsibility and start pointing the players in the right direction. Not keep hiding behind systems, tactics, and all that. But this is what he's trying to do. He needs to grow a pair and say, right, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it, because it's getting tedious. It would get tedious for me as a player. Like you said, if all of a sudden he's asking Shaq to go and play left back. I'm a good player. I'm one of your best players in midfield. Get against someone else to play there, not me.
Yeah,
that's where, and then Arteta has to make a decision. If he says you can't talk to me like that, get me out, get someone else in there, because it ain't working.
Great point.
Yeah.
Great point. Judges, we'll come to you.
Well,
do you trust this process, mate?
No,
What's going on?
This process and all that, like you can go on that. Listen, I like to see the process. Forget the process. I like to watch it through with my own eyes. Like, you know what I mean? Everton, Kev, you was in the studio that game. It was boring. It was an absolute no-show. Right, safety net. Oh well, he's thinking of Thursday, right? So I get that, but then I look at other games this season. And you getting around this thing about the owner. Like, did the owner tell him to play a false nine on Thursday night? Did he tell him to change the system and all that? No, I don't think so. And I think
he's never there.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like, you know what I mean? He was wondering what a false nine was. You know what I mean? If it was a false girl. You know what I mean? Like, you get like look at Newcastle, right? And it's great that you talk about Newcastle. When they were successful, they had an owner that cared about the football club. He supported the football club. Sir John Hall, he supported the football club, put his money in it, but ultimately, if things weren't right, he'd know, he'd see, he'd watch it. He'd go, that ain't right. Sort things out with whatever, like, you know what I mean? And eventually now they haven't got that. Newcastle has gone down, and that is what's happening with Arsenal. Right? Kev, you will know this as well. The Hillwoods might not have been great and whatever, but they cared about Arsenal Football Club
big time.
Cared about it, like, you know.
Yeah,
and
but Lee, they went through the tough time as well. Let's have it right. No club only has success. Let's get this right.
And that's what I was going to get. It wasn't always roses, was it? But ultimately, you knew the club cared. Now, I don't know that many Newcastle fans, but at the moment in time, their probably beef is more because the owner doesn't care. You know what I mean? Like, but Steve Bruce, I think is doing from the outside looking in, he's doing an okay job. He's getting pillared. But all of a sudden, Mikel Arteta, oh, don't worry about him. We go over him and we go for the Cronkies or the ownership. But he's got to be accountable as well.
Lee, you can't say that Arteta ain't getting hammered. He is getting hammered. You can't say he's not, because he is.
No, I think a lot of the fans have really tried to back him, Kev. I think over the last sort of few months, it's starting to turn, and after Thursday, I can see why. I'll tell you why. Look, I've wanted Mikel to do really well. I really have. But if I was a fan paying to go and watch these games now, and it's not cheap, as you know, 90 quid for a ticket, and I'm watching the Everton games. We can't beat Fulham. Not Hull.
Burnley.
Wolves, teams like that.
Villa,
I'm going to be
Leicester.
not very happy about it.
No, Lee, listen, I've said all along, we're going to have to feel some pain. We're going to have to change things. We have to feel, we don't like it. I hate it, but we have to go through some pain because you know what? It's been, 16 years since we've last won a title, 17 years. So from 16 years ago, the process has started to try and be champions again. Because surely that's what Arsenal Football Club should be going for. Is that not correct?
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
Right. So that's the process. And we haven't done it for 16 years. Arteta's been in there since, when was it?
18 months ago, and Rob Holding's our captain now.
18 months ago, Lee. 18 months ago. He's coming 18 months ago, and we're talking about a 16-year problem.
Okay, let me jump on. That's again great. But Leicester, Leicester have gone and won a title. You know, with all due respect, Leicester is nowhere near what Arsenal and I think Newcastle, but they have a certain style. They've got a certain identity. They have a great recruitment. They've got a limited budget, and they do what they need to do. And they're more competitive than our two teams. In the last 3 or 4 years, they've been more because they've been run properly. The coaches, the recruitment, and they've still managed to sell their best players, but still being able to keep in the Champions League, in Europa football. They've still been able to do that. And that's what I'm saying
Warren.
about. They don't run their football club as a business. They run it as a football club.
Warren, you're 100% right. But what does that say about Arsenal?
You're going to end up like Newcastle. That's what's going to end up like.
That tells you why.
There's your warning.
Things have to change. That's why the culture had to change. Arsenal went from being a team who went to win things to a team who qualifying for the Champions League was enough. And now we haven't qualified for the Champions League for 5 years.
So it's Arsenal's fault then. It's Arsene Wenger's fault then.
Look, hold on. It's 16 years ago. That's when it started. So Arsenal has a part. Everybody has a part to play who's been in this process. Because we're still not the Arsenal that we love.
How would you answer this, Kev? Because I think this is a good one as well. Don't you think 16 years is long enough, Kev? Could be like Liverpool, be 30. You've told me before it could be. It could be 30.
And again, to be successful, you have to have everybody on the same page. And they are not on the same page. Arsenal Football Club is disjointed at the moment.
We weren't on the same page last night, Kev.
No, but we haven't been for 16 years, is my point, Lee.
He's on the false page.
We haven't been for 16 years. So, again, if you're going to be successful as a football club, the fans who do go or watch know what they're going to get. The team that crossed the white line, you know they're going to perform. You know they're going to be in a game. Just a few years ago, the game was over in 25, 30 minutes.
Games are over. I'm going to ask you a
over.
serious question here. I've got to ask it, right, because, your love for Mikel Arteta, I'm admiring it, But when Arsenal were in disarray, right, when George Graham came, it did not take him 18 months to sort it out.
Lee, I never said it took him 18 months.
I'm talking
about titles.
No, I'm saying George Graham comes to Arsenal. When he came, 1971 was it? The club was in a mess, right? Yeah, it was in a mess, a bit like it is now. But 18 months down the line, there was a vision. There was this and that. There ain't nothing with Mikel Arteta.
Because it was differently. It's different. When George Graham came into the football club,
I've seen.
Hold on. You asked me a question. Can I answer?
I'm not going to like it. That's why I don't want to hear it.
Right. God, no, you're not. When George Graham came into the club, you had your Viv Anderson, you had your Kenny Sansom, you had Tommy Caton, you had Stevie Williams, you had a totally different squad. All the so-called players who came through and changed it were the youngsters. Don't forget that, Lee. They were the young players, the Rocastles, Tony Adams, and Niall Quinn, and Merson, and Martin Hayes, and all these guys started to come through. Did he buy? He bought Lee Dixon, he bought Steve Bold, he bought Nigel Winterburn, Perry Groves came in, changed it totally. And if you remember rightly, Lee, there was uproar. There was uproar at Arsenal.
Yeah, bloody was when he sold Charlie Nicholas.
I know that. But, Charlie Nick was there, buying players from Stoke for the Arsenal, all that. But he knew he had to change the culture. The culture was not right.
Warren makes a great point here. Warren makes a great point. Leicester were in disarray when Puyol was there. Was it Puyol was the manager?
Puyol, yeah.
Right. Jamie Vardy was on the bench. I remember Jamie Vardy. This is how bad Leicester were. Jamie Vardy was Leicester were playing against Spurs at Wembley. They were 1-0, 0-0 or 1-0 down. He comes on as a sub to take a penalty, misses the penalty and end up losing. I think he was sacked after that. And they was in disarray. I think that's further bottom. Look at them now, within a couple of years. Because they've got a coach that knows what he's doing. He's got experience and he's got the right players in the right place. How much longer have I got to wait before Mikel becomes...
Lee. And you could talk about love. No, my love's for Arsenal. Whether Mikel's there or another manager, it's the same. It's the same. Whether a new manager comes in, what they have to do, they have to change that culture because the culture isn't a winning culture.
Well, hold on a minute. I'm glad I'm down here because I'm arguing with you here. I don't like to argue with you. Arsenal have won an FA Cup. They've won 4 FA Cups, winning culture.
Yeah, but it's not a league. Lee, hold on a minute. So if Arsenal's in a winning culture and winning the FA Cup, why is everybody going in meltdown this season?
Because they're 10th in the league, Kev. There's a difference.
Yeah, but we won the FA Cup.
It's a false position.
No, but we won the FA Cup. So you can't have it. So you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, but
I am not mentioning FA Cups. I'm talking about Arsenal and league titles. That's what I'm on about. Arsenal and league titles. If Arsenal are going to be the Arsenal who could challenge in the Premier League, things have to change. Look at this.
They're changing for the right, aren't they? Because if we can win a league, Kev, Rob Holding is not your captain for Arsenal. He's not actually even going to be in the team. You know what I mean?
Rob Holding won't be in the team next season. But what I'm saying to you is this, and this is what I'm saying. Arsenal are a cup team. Look at the crap we've had to put up with this season. And we're in the bloody semi-final of the Europa League.
Well, it wasn't a very good cup performance yesterday, then, was it?
No, but isn't that just Arsenal?
Well, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
No, but that's what I'm saying, Warren. It shouldn't be. But because the culture isn't a winning culture anymore. The culture's changed.
Put him on mute. Can we put him on mute?
The culture of the football club is not the same. You know it as fans. We know it as players, Warren. Warren, you could tell him when you went to Highbury.
Warren's not agreeing with him. He's not agreeing. Come on, Warren.
When you went and played Arsenal.
Don't worry, he's in Manchester. He ain't going to get you.
When you went and played Arsenal, Warren, when you went and played Arsenal, you knew straight away we are in problems today. Teams are coming to the Emirates, rubbing their hands.
I told you, you end up like Newcastle. I want to go back to Kevin, but he was on TV with his dicky bow tie. There's only certain people who can carry that off, by the way. He was magnificent. Let's lighten it up a bit, this little debate.
Yeah, lighten it up a bit.
I'm arguing with judges here.
Yeah, I'm sitting on your good side, Kev. You look great in the dicky bow tie.
Me and Warren are just...
Well, you notice when he's on Sky, they don't say all this. He's,
no, because you're not on.
He's got a face for radio. He's all right. He's better for radio.
I want to watch it over there.
I think me and Warren are going to get the popcorn out. I'll tell you that in a minute. Jesus.
I was going to
You
put the
two
kettle
down the
on.
bottom
I'm
here.
going to put the kettle on. Yeah.
Listen,
Unbelievable.
guys,
Come
it's
on,
not
fellas,
good enough.
Have a hug. Have a group hug. Come on.
It's not good. It's not good enough. One thing we all agree on. It's not good enough.
Arsenal are crap.
So what need?
Yes, they are. It's not good enough.
This is a serious question then, right? This is for all of you, right? This is for all of you. Is Mikel Arteta doing a good job at Arsenal? We'll start with Kev, we'll go then to Lee, and then we'll go to Warren.
Mikel Arteta is doing an okay job with the group of players he has. Winning a cup, getting into the semi-final of a Europa. Listen, he's done okay. In the league, our main striker hasn't turned up and our goalkeeper's been chucking them in. That's the difference in the league, by the way. You know that, don't you? And you could cut it. Oh, we ain't turned up for games. You had another 10 goals from Aubameyang into our team. We are up that league. But the problem is, he hasn't turned up this season and we've got to accept it. But you do realise
£300,000 a week, then, wasn't it?
But you do realise, if Mikel Arteta wins this trophy, if he does, I don't know whether we are. If he wins it, he'd be one of the most successful managers in Arsenal history for over 2 years. You do realise that, don't you?
Yeah.
So what would the fan base say then? It's still not good enough.
I'll tell you what I'd say.
No, but it's still not good enough, is it?
Thank you very much. There's your P45. You've done a fantastic job.
That's exactly what I would say. So let's before I move to Lee and then to Warren, Kev, I just want to stick with you on because obviously you said that he's doing an okay job with these players, right? Yeah. But these players last night, there's only 3 of them. I think they ain't his. All the rest of them, he's either signed or he's stuck with or given a contract extension to.
No,
so
stuck with isn't. Come on now, Dan. Stuck with. Come on. There's only
he doesn't want Leno. He doesn't want Leno. He doesn't want Xhaka.
There's only so many players that's there who he's got to choose from. He's got to make the best of a bad bunch. They ain't the players that he would have picked, but he comes into the football club and he's got to work with them. That's what he's got to do.
This is my problem. He's got to show me something different with a solution, though, because if he doesn't want Leno or doesn't want Xhaka, he's showing me that he does because they play 90 minutes of every single game. That's my problem with it. And the other ones, like the Parties and the Maris and the Gabriels, which most I like, by the way, he's sticking with them. I've seen no style of play. I've seen boring, unattractive football. I've seen 1-0 losses at home at the Emirates. I think that he needs to go. I've been calling out for the manager since November. I've taken enough abuse for it. Only now in May, it was all right in November to lose, but now it's not all right in May to lose. I have not seen any change or progression from it. You're right, he would go down as being a success if he wins the Europa League. But I don't like what I am seeing on the pitch. I'm seeing so much confusion, mismanagement of players that I don't think he's doing a good job.
He's going nowhere.
And if you would, I agree with you. And this
he's
is my
going
problem. This
nowhere.
is why I hate Kroenke.
So people get used to it. He's going nowhere.
And this is the problem I've got with it because this owner does not care. So I've been pointing the fingers at the owner because guess what, KC? I never wanted this dude. I wanted Simeone, Allegri, Ancelotti. I would have taken one for Benitez.
I didn't want him. But the fact of the matter is he's Arsenal manager. So I'm with Arsenal. That's it. So he's the manager. I'm with Arsenal. I want Arsenal to do well. I don't want him to fail. I want Arsenal to win. Of course I do.
Okay. So you think he's doing an okay job? Judges.
He's doing an okay job.
Judges.
Look at that face.
I disagree.
Lee, no chance. No way, D. Oh, my God.
Listen, I'll be honest. If he wins the Europa League, you can't argue with that, can you? Let's be honest. He's won the FA Cup, Charity Shield, and Europa League in less than 2 years. You've got to... but that's a big if at this moment in time. Yeah. But I think at this moment in time, I'm just losing faith with him. I've got to say that, and I mean that. Listen, I'm a supporter that's wanting him to be successful. Look, I've been called a flip flop for so many long because I've been chopping because I've wanted him to do well. But the more I see it, you know. And Kev goes on about winning a league. You know, the more I see it, the more I believe that Mikel Arteta he's never ever going to win us a league because the proof's in the pudding. He can't get more than 5 wins on a trot. That's my thing. You know what I mean? And I'm sorry, with the players that he's got, we should be getting 5 games on the trot to win, and he's not done it. Over 100%. To you, Warren.
100%. Warren, I'm going to come to you on and we're going to talk about Newcastle in a minute, but I want you to just finish us off on this Arteta debate.
And then can we have a laugh?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I'm leaving.
I've been disappointed, to say the least. I think with his, as I touched on earlier, I think he's got the nucleus of being a very good coach. I think he can do better with the players. I think he overthinks it, as Pep has done in Champions League games and other games. He is the Arsenal manager. I'm sure he's trying to do the right things. They will stick with him, but there's some great coaches out there as well. But I would give him to the end of the season and see where he is. But for Arsenal to be mid-table, and even if you get to the Europa final, is it enough? Is it enough for him? But I never want, even with Steve Bruce, I've been on about Steve and his style. I don't want someone to get the sack because I think that's calm. I think he comes back and punches you right on the nose. So I don't want that with anybody. But if you look at what he's done in the league, and if you look what's happened in the cups, it's not been great. I know he won the FA Cup, Kev, but I would stick with it and persevere. But I would tell him just to be his own man and do what he feels the best with this group of players to get them to play. I don't think they're that bad, Kev. You know, I know we joke about it, so I think there's some really good players, and you can manage them better than he is at the moment. You know, I do think he can get
I agree.
Aubameyang back on the score sheet. I think he can get players playing well again. But without being funny, Kev, without bullshit, he needs someone like yourself next to him to say, sit down in the room, let's have a conversation and let's sort this out, because this is Arsenal. We can't be doing this. And just a few home truths, nothing personal. You know, a lot of assistant coaches are yes men, just to hear a few home truths. It's not a personal attack on you, Mikel. It's not this, but this is how I feel. This is how,
Warren,
and I don't know whether they do that. I don't know whether
Warren,
they do
a quick question for you. Do you think the fact he hasn't really had a pre-season has harmed him? Because he came in halfway through the season, obviously then COVID, then it was a shortened summer, wasn't it? After the season was elongated, shortened summer. Do you think that, because you know what it's like, getting a good pre-season in makes a massive difference?
And I think maybe with what he's trying to emulate for his players, he needs more time to get that across. You know, if there's another coach that's coming in that was similar and playing a certain easier style of football, then maybe not. But he's trying to be so intricate and so thinking outside the box that it's like, oh, okay, we need to sit down and have a look at this. But it's games and results and defeats, then everyone starts up banging the drum. But the tactics are on the system wrong. But it doesn't help him, Kev, because he is a coach that likes to be intricate and be complicated with his tactics.
Well, also, it only takes him 7 days to work out a false 9 system. So I'm not so sure about the pre-season.
Well, Dan, Lee, Warren, I'm going to have to shoot because I'm on the Ivory squad now.
You're on Ivory squad.
Come on, man.
Legend,
man.
as always.
Look after yourself. Good to see you guys. Take care. Everyone in chat, take care. Everyone, bye now.
Keep wearing your dickies. Keep wearing it.
Of course. Take you both Thursdays, mate.
Good man. I love it.
Warren, I'm going to stay with you just before we do move to Newcastle, because I've seen in the chat that, Kev makes up a couple of excuses there about pre-season and COVID and stuff like that. All for 20 sides, by the way, not just for Arsenal. But Chelsea could finish in the top 4, win the FA Cup and win the Champions League. They were 1 point, right, away from Arsenal when they sacked Frank Lampard, and look at what that's done. This is why I'm getting frustrated, because this is not a terrible Arsenal side. It's got some great players in it, like you've just said. They're not playing as a team, and I don't see the telepathy between the management and the players, right? So it frustrates me, because I know Chelsea have got some better players than Arsenal, but really I look at the squad and I think, is it that much better than Arsenal? It's probably like about that. Maybe Chelsea a bit up here, right? So is it the manager, or is it that the players ain't good enough? Because I'm saying it's the manager.
I think if you put Allegri in there, that they'd be challenging for Champions League. I don't think they're challenged for the title, but I think if you put someone like Allegri or Simeone, they would be in that bracket of 4 or 5 challenging. That's what I feel. With Kevin, I understand his passion for, but I don't think group of players are that bad. I know Holding shouldn't be captain. I know certain players, but my old team, Newcastle, I look at them and I think there's some better players than what the system and the style that the manager's playing. I think if you're a bit more aggressive on the front foot, you play quicker football, you play your style of football, you play the Arsenal way, the Newcastle way, you would beat Burnley, you would beat Leicester, you would beat Southampton, you would beat these teams at home. But he's not. As I said, he's trying to make Arsenal into something they're not. And this process is when Arsenal had their best success is when they was powerful. I mean, listen, they had world-class players, but they was on the front foot, back five, defended properly, midfield players got the ball to the forwards, and the forward did the business. It's not rocket science, that's Arsenal's DNA. Now, Man United, best success, they play with wide players. That's what United fans, they want. Liverpool, more possession, they're patient. So each club has its identity, but Arsenal at the moment are just drifting and going to be another Premier League team. And you can keep going on about 15 years ago, but he has to change. Arteta, and we all get caught up in ex-player coming in. That's what's given, let's be honest, fellas, that's what's giving him a breathing space at the moment. Because if he was a coach from Austria or from the Bundesliga, they'd be get him out. But because he's Arteta and he says the right things about Arsenal and he's got a good relationship with the media in Arsenal, he gets a little bit of time. And he's got the FA Cup in his back pocket, which, let's not flip that away. I mean, I know it's not the big trophies, but it's still a trophy that he won.
Huge,
So, but Arsenal, with this group of players, with a bit more of a simple philosophy, I think, like Thomas Tuchel has done. What did Thomas Tuchel do when he came in after Frank? He got Azpilicueta back in there, Rudiger at the back. He got senior players playing, and he gave them the foundation, and they built from that. It's like when Arsenal come to Arsenal. He didn't say, right, I'm getting rid of Tony, I'm getting rid of Lee, I'm getting rid of this. He knew that they was good players, and then he started to add to all the players that we'd never, ever heard. Like when Patrick come in,
100%.
and then Thierry Henry, we know he'd been doing well, but he understood. And, Mikel Arteta has just tried to change the whole philosophy of Arsenal Football Club in 14 months. And
it's spot on, mate. It is absolutely spot on. Let's move on quickly, Warren, to Newcastle. I'm going to bring Lee in afterwards, but I just wanted to we obviously got them on Sunday. It feels like this is just taking away all the league. As far as we're concerned, mate, we've got 5 games left that I just want to finish very quickly. But let's talk a bit about Newcastle, because it is frustrating. The fans absolutely hate it this season. Mike Ashley doesn't give a damn. Steve Bruce is getting pelters. What do you make of the season for Newcastle, Warren?
Oh, it's been a drag. It's been a chore to watch them. We as Newcastle fans have been banging the drum about our ownership running it like a business, and then all of a sudden the so-called Big Six, all the fans, gave them a wake-up call, because their owners, apart from maybe City, who do spend and go out, they are running it like a business, and they're taking the heart and soul out of the club, which is the fans, in my point of view. I used to love going to Highbury and that smell of Bovril and onions and burgers and everything as you're walking into the stadium. That's what Arsenal Football Club was about, and getting ready for the game and seeing these players, Liam Brady and that playing. And when you take that away from everybody and just make it corporate and about money, you lose the soul of the football club. So, for us as Newcastle fans, it's been a disaster, and started off the season reasonably well, got some good players. Wilson had come in, some other players, Fraser, that we thought could strengthen the squad and challenge. We got off to a good start and thinking, well, it might be, we can do what maybe West Ham are doing. Is that out of the question? Is it something that maybe we can get I always use Leicester as a role model, because not everybody's got Man City or Man United's money or Liverpool's money. So why can't they do it? Everton are up there, and slowly but surely with Steve, he got back his tactics. We played against Sheffield United away, who had never won a game, allowed them to get into the game and beat us. And from there, it's been a drag. You think Arsenal, Everton was a bad game. You should have seen what we're watching up there. It's tough. It's tough to watch. I love Steve as a player when he was at Man United, but it's not Newcastle that I'm seeing. And I respect him, and that's how he wants to do it, but it's not what I want to watch and what I want to support. And I'm an Arsenal fan. I've been, as I said, I was brought up by my dad and my brother going to Highbury, but a big part of me is Newcastle. So if you're asking me honestly, the result of the weekend, I want Newcastle to win. Because that's That's how I feel about them at the moment. They're a club.
Oh, it's a bigger game for them.
vulnerable.
It's a bigger game for Newcastle.
The club looked weak. It looked weak and vulnerable, and I can't have that with my football club. You know, and if it's now with Arsenal, then I'll be on Highbury Corner banging drum about Arsenal because that's my club as well. But if it comes the weekend, we need it more than you lot. So I'll be wearing the black and white.
Yeah, I say with Newcastle is like, you know, from my point of view, I've always liked them. Going back through, like they've always had a fantastic support. Do you remember, like back in the 80s and all that? Like
Malcolm McDonald, that's why Malcolm McDonald. Yeah,
Malcolm McDonald. They always pack the end. It would always be like, you know, they're very, very, you know, Newcastle to go to Newcastle. I don't think it's quite the same now, the stadium, like it was back in the old days. It's too high and whatever. But it was always a, you know, like you used to go up there, it's freezing cold, but there's always a great atmosphere. And they've had, you know, like some great players and great support. And you've always wanted Newcastle to do well. I you know, I don't watch Newcastle like as much as I do, but I have seen them over the last couple of weeks. But since they've got a couple of their players back, they've been a different animal. They've been a little bit more proactive with the players they've got. And I think that, you know, with the likes of Wilson and Maximum and all that, they've got to really go for it a little bit more under Steve Bruce. And otherwise the fans will not tolerate that. You know, they've always had, haven't they, Newcastle, as you'll know, Warren, they've always had a couple of little quality little players in their side.
Yeah, even when you go back to like Gaza, then you had Chris Waddle, Peter Beardsley. They've always had like Maximum Ginola when we was there, Tino Estrella, and obviously you've had Ferdinand and Alan Shearer. They've always had a player
Titus Bramble.
Yeah, Titus Shambles. You know, they've always had a player that they can gravitate to, who they want to, and they support their team through thick and thin. And you know, Steve's made it. You know, players have been injured, but a lot of them three players, Maxim Almiron and Wilson, was fit early part of the season, but he still played that negative football, and that's where the criticism comes. It's not a personal thing. And then when your manager comes out, can you imagine Arteta saying, "My brief for my owner is just to try and win a trophy. It doesn't matter. We just stay in the league. We can be 15th, but just to try and win a trophy or get to a final." I mean, Steve has come out and said, my brief for my owner is just to stay in the Premier League.
Yeah, not good enough.
No, it's like, okay, that might be what you're told, but this is what I'm going to try and do. I ain't going to just accept. I want to actually try and challenge and be more assertive with the players I got, but he didn't. And that's why I'm saying, I was joking about it, fellas, but this is what Newcastle was. They went through another Souness come as coach, Chris Hugh, and then it went down, Rafa Benitez. And Arsenal were not on that slippery slope if they don't watch it. If they really don't watch it,
I totally agree with you. I totally do. One player who is on loan from us is Joe Willock. He has got on the score sheet a couple of times. How's he been doing?
He's been fantastic. He's been a breath of fresh air. He's got energy. He's got passion. Again, no, Steve has been using the last 10, 15 minutes. But he can run all day long. The boy can play. He's really what's, you know, been great from my point of view as a boy going up to Newcastle, and he's really enjoyed it. He wants to play. He wants to go. He's not felt sorry for himself or Arsenal's let me go. You know, he's really said, I want to play. I want to be a Premier League player. Now, whether he goes back to Arsenal is still debatable. Like you said, you've got a million midfield players. Or if not, he's took the chance to say, if not, Newcastle may want him, or another Premier League team, and Everton may come in for him and buy him, and he can kickstart his career. But he's what I love about him, and I loved him at Arsenal as well. He had a bit of passion about him. All right, he lacked a bit of quality in the passing and a little bit positional sense. But one thing about the kid, he'll have a go. And you can tolerate that sometimes if you can try and coach him and nurture him around some better players. But he's been a breath of fresh air because he's had a go. He's gone out there, and every game matters, every training session matters, and him and Richie been excellent for us. So he's been good. You know, 20 million. If you're talking about the money now for 20 million, I'd bite your arm off because he looks well worth that.
Do you reckon, Lee? 20 million to Newcastle, Joe Willock?
Well, like, you know, it'd be a good move for him. Like, you know, I quite like the kid, as Warren says. He's always given 100%. I'll tell you what I've not liked. He's always, which has been a bit harsh on him. I remember him playing against Blackpool in the FA Cup, going up there, and he got a couple of goals. Still not good enough. You know what I mean? Whatever he's done for Arsenal, still not. He's not good enough. Not good enough. You know what I mean? So maybe like a Newcastle, he'd get a little bit more appreciation, and that could kick him on again. Like, you know, so
He scored more
confidence
goals
is a
than
big
the
thing.
Arsenal midfield, apparently, which I would.
Yeah,
He
there's that thing. I'll tell you what, was it the goal against, I think it was the goal against Tottenham with the header, was a bullet of an header. Well, it weren't easy. It weren't a great, it weren't what you'd say an easy chance. It was bosh. It was straight in, like, you know. So you know, good luck to him. And if he goes to Newcastle, that's a great move for him. Yeah, without a doubt.
Fair play, Warren. Prediction for the weekend. You fancy Newcastle, or you want Newcastle? Do you fancy him to win?
Yeah, I do. I think the confidence is a big thing after that Spurs result. And then we followed up with a West Ham, and then Burnley, then West Ham. I think it's. I'm going to go for 2-1 to the Toon, because I think, you know, Arteta will have false players everywhere and have a false idea about what's happening in Europa. He's got a false plan for everything. So yeah, I'm going to go for 2-1 for the Toon.
Fair play. I'm going to go 1-1.
That was on my mind as well, Dan. Dan, I felt that one as well. I thought I was going to sit on the fence, but I thought I'd get stick if I did. So that's why I went 2-1. But I do fancy a 1-1.
Fair play, mate. No, good for you, mate. Judges, what do you reckon?
I fancy a 1-1, but if any team's going to win it, Newcastle. But
okay.
That means Arsenal win 3-0.
No, well, you never know. But like, I think that I think the thing is that Newcastle probably want it a little bit more. Might just be the sway for it. Like last 10, 15 minutes, if it's tight, I fancy, like, you know, Newcastle might go for a little bit more. But yeah, and at the end of the day, I want Newcastle to stay in the league. So if they do win it, then so be it. As long as I'll take it now. Look, Newcastle win on Sunday. We win 3-0 on Thursday. We're all happy.
You'll be welcome up
Fair
there, my friend, even if it's cold up there. I'll get you a nice woolly hat when you come up.
Thank you very much, Mark. I look forward to it.
There we go. Got to be done, innit? It's got to be done.
I'll have a false hat.
Excellent, boys.
Set of hair like that.
Can anyone remember when that thing come, this false 9 come up? I mean, it's
the same as an inverted fullback, isn't it? Inverted fullback, false 9.
Fullback.
False 9. It's just, you know, it's a load of old rubbish, isn't it? Like, I've never heard of it in my life. All of a sudden, it's come in there, isn't it? Like, do you know what I mean?
Very, very vogue at the moment. It's vogue to have.
Yeah. No strikers. I think was it Spain that produced it at first, because they had never, you know.
Well, no, Pep did it with
Barcelona.
He did it with like Pedro, didn't he?
Got a lot to answer for.
He has got a lot to answer for.
I'll tell you what, Warren made a great point going back. They could have been 2 or 3-0 down against Paris Saint-Germain. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you this now. I'll guarantee you he won't be playing a false 9 next season after the summer transfer window. I'll guarantee it, like, you know.
Well, once they get Haaland in, I think they might be all right, to be honest with you. But there we go. Warren, I normally do this with KC. I've done it a few times. I haven't done it with yourself. Before we do wrap up, best player you played against and best player that you played with. Bit on the spot, mate. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Zidane's by far the best player. Zidane, when we played against Juventus in there, so he's the best one. But in the league, the Premier League, Thierry Henry would be, I think, Premier League's best player, not striker, but best footballer that's ever played in the Premier League. He could do it all. He could run, he could tackle, he could score goals, tap-ins, worldies, whatever. Gigs, week in, week out. You know, for 12 years I played against Ryan when he come through. So he was the one. So he's been the best. They're the best 3, if you're asking me, week in, week out, Henry. But the best has ever been Zidane. Best player, I've been very, very lucky. Gaza before Euro 96 was brilliant. Being around him was sensational. I don't think you can go too far wrong with Valencia as a number 9. But I do always have
bad, was he?
No, he wasn't bad.
He was all right.
He knew where the goal was. He hated pre-seasons, by the way. Fucking hell. He'd be at the back rolling his head. Why do I need to do this? This is rubbish. This is rubbish. And then all of a sudden, start the season, 31 goals he'd get. So that was his way of doing it. But Peter Beardsley is the best player I've played with. And the 6 months was phenomenal. But Pedro was doing things that, you know, such a talented player. Even in training as well, he would do the thing. So he would be up there, Peter. He would run like a cheetah. But yeah, he was a top class player. Yeah, he was a player.
That's a great shout. No, he was fantastic. And what about best team you ever played against?
The Arsenal. I would say them.
Was it?
When I think I'd tell you the story. We go to Highbury, and this is when we was doing well. And you'd look across and you'd see Tony had been with England, and Tony's the best captain. Him and Stuart Pearce, the best captains I've been around, and they influenced me the way I want to coach teams, I want to play teams the way that they are. Them two have been brilliant to me. I did my A license with and pro license with Tony. Phenomenal player, phenomenal person as well, and Stuart Pearce. But you stand there, as I said, Tony. David would be there. And then next you got Patrick, Emile Petit, Bergkamp again going through on Martin Keown, and then the two little rats at the back, Lee and fucking Nigel. So it was it was like where do you go from here? Because they were phenomenal players. And then throw in Robert Perez or Freddie or Ray Parler or whatever. They was a phenomenal team, and also the Man United team that won the treble. When you look at their players and that squad, because as I said, Wimbledon, when I was there, trying to bully teams, didn't phase the Arsenal. Then when you try and compete and play football like we did at Newcastle, it didn't phase Arsenal or the Man United team. So I was lucky, in that period when you had two quality managers, two quality teams, and then you threw us in there. Chelsea was starting to perform well. Liverpool was always up there. You had 5 or 6 of us. City weren't even. They was fighting relegation. So that just shows you what money can do. But
Yeah.
I think the Arsenal team, because there wasn't a weakness, and as I said, with the Man United team as well, with Stamp and Rio and them type of players. Just before Ronaldo really burst in, because you had Giggs, Beckham, Scholes, and then the two up front was a handful as well. But great games, As I said, they could do it all. It was a great time to be in the Premier League. So yeah, they would be up there definitely.
Last one from me, and then I'll hand over to Lee, see if he's got anything. Well, I want to know who was the best manager you played under, and what manager would you like to play under now, if you could?
So Bobby by far was the best. He ticks every box. Tactics, media, man management, understanding individuals, understanding the opposition. He was brilliant. KK was great when it was going well, but when it didn't, he got upset. Dalglish was great as looking after your players. He probably protected us too much. Terry Venables was great tactically, but then you had the other side. He was like a car dealer, what he was doing and things like that. But he was great, Eltel. He was fantastic to be around. Obviously, you'd like to hear to be in Pep's mind and to find out a little bit about him. Because I do hear, if you ever watch the documentary about Sir Bobby Robson, and there's a bit about when he was at Barcelona, and Pep doesn't it, and you can hear Pep and the way Sir Bobby was in that environment where they was trying to get him out, but he kept his dignity. And when Pep says certain things about the game and dignity, you can hear Sir Bobby in him. I know they was only there for 2 years, but you can hear a little bit of Sir Bobby in him about the way he's respectful to people. So Pep would be one. And I think Klopp would be fun to be around if you're doing well. I think he's on your side. He wants to motivate you. I think it'd be great to go and have a drink with him, sit down and have a conversation with him. And another one, I go back to it as well, that doesn't get the recognition is that as a coach. I was lucky enough to be up here, and Real Madrid was in Los Angeles. And he said about Pep and reinventing the game and changing the game and all these false things here. He said, all I want to do is win trophies, and I'll figure out in the game what I need to do. It helps when you've got Benzema around, but he said there's certain games that we have our philosophy, but then I'll see things. I think, right, there's a weakness there. I'll try and exploit that and swap Gareth Bale and Ronaldo over, or I just try and win again. I'm not going to try and say there's a certain way Real Madrid have to play. There's a certain style of football. There's a certain quality of players, but he doesn't get the recognition that he deserves, because you look what they're doing now. They might even get the Champions League final in their league, and they've got like half a team. It's not about evolving in development. He's got rid of arguably the best player that's ever played the game, and they're still competing and going forward. Going back to our conversation earlier, all this 3-year playing is a load of cobswallops. You don't have 3-year playing. You got to go straight away and bang, off you go again. You've got to see an input and a transition in the team within a couple of weeks. You can't say I'm waiting and seeing what's happening. That's a load of crap.
Yeah. 3-week plan, not a 3-year plan.
Yeah, you ain't got 3 weeks. The business that we're in, and as a player, if I turned up the Newcastle and said Kevin after he paid 4.5 million for me. Can I take 3 years just to work out what I'm doing? It's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
I'll go and play Steve Watson. That's
Spot on.
what. So you don't say, oh, it's not. You've got to hit the ground running. You've got to understand. You've got to have an identity, and you've got to do well, because that's the business we're in. If not, get out and get someone else in. That's life. It's like you.
It's real talk, man. Real talk, mate. Real talk.
Proper.
Lee Judges, anything from you?
No, just one thing. I just think like being in non-league and all that made you the player you was. Made you like
Definitely. It was fun. We had enough. I mean, from being told at 16 you're too small to. I was 16 in East London. Terry Hurlock, you remember Terry Hurlock? He just left the club that I was going to. So you can imagine he was one of the quieter ones in the changing room. Terry Hurlock was at the changing room I was going into. So I walked in there, bleached blonde hair, 16, 5'2". And I was like, what's just walked in here? And you got like a policeman, a plumber, electrician. And we played non-league and we won the Isthmian League a couple of years. And then the rest history. I got my move and back in with Wimbledon, but definitely the foundations. And I think you look at Stuart, Chris Willock, even Wrighty. I played against Wrighty when he was at Dulwich. I think it gives you that understanding, and that's why we loved every minute of being in the Premier League. Yeah. Every time I went training, every time I played at Highbury, every time I was at Old Trafford, every time I was at St James's Park, Anfield, I loved it because I know what it took to be there, and I know there's thousands and millions of people who would give their right arm to do it. And I wasn't going to, let it go by. But the non-league football was great. The people, that's why it gets on my nerves about this Super League. What about the non-league clubs? What about people that wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go and do the lines, to make the tea in the cub shop, to lay the kit out for someone who takes it home in their own home, washes it, dries it, so the lads have got or the lasses have got their kit the next day, go and play a non-league game. So we have to remember what the heart and soul of it's not just about the fans, it's the pyramid non-league. When I was at Dagenham and Redbridge to finish off my license with them, some of the people there, you're talking about real characters. A lot of Americans say to me, "Oh, I want to go to Stamford Bridge. I want to go to the Emirates. I said, go to a non-league game. You won't understand a word they're saying, but just go and look at the people that are around there. It's some of the funniest people.
It's proper football as well.
It's proper football, and the comments and that, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Yeah, definitely stands me in good stead.
Top man, Warren, absolute legend. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Always welcome on here, mate. And I really appreciate your time. Lee Judges, thank you very much as well, mate.
That was a great hour and a bit like that. Was like, thanks for that, Warren. Always a pleasure.
It was great listening to you and Kev. It was great for 45 minutes.
I tell you what, mate. I ain't saying nothing.
I tell you, can I just say, if there's a few right-handers going around, there's only going to be 1 minute, son. So.
Oh, no. I'll tell you what, he's got a bit of timber now. He won't catch me.
I know. If he gets you one of them big haymakers,
you're in trouble, mate.
Oh, what?
Just kick him up the old.
Listen, I only argue with Kevin when I'm in London and he's in Manchester. I do not. When I see him, yes, Kev, 3 bags full, Kev. You know what I mean? So.
No. I love him.
Behind the screen's a bit different, Judge, isn't it? That's
the old cowardly
line. Everyone. Yeah, that's it. Thank you to everyone for watching. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Over 400 of you at one stage watching live. Much appreciated. We'll be back on Monday night. Myself, Lee, Craig, potentially Harry, Graham and Mark. I'm not too sure. But we will be back to discuss what happens at the weekend and probably have to discuss what's going to be happening on Thursday night. Until then, we will see you next time. Up the Arsenal.